Are recording. Hello, my name is Bryce Tubbs. I'm super excited to come to you guys today. With me today is Stephen Meadows. He is the Vice President of Operations at Coldwell Banker Premier LLC. His specialty is growing successful companies and creating productive agents. I'm super excited to be able to share his immense experience. He's been doing this for over 19 years in the same field, and I cannot wait to tap into this wealth of information and experience. Thank you so much, Stephen.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Excellent. So everybody has like a story. So can you tell the people who've never met you or heard about you before exactly what brought you into this field? What was the catalyst for you, becoming successful in this field?
So what got me into real estate, first off, was I sold a stereo to a real estate broker at Big Lots when I was like 18 years old. And she knew my cousin, and I got into the business, and I just kind of worked in real estate all through college. Wasn't really taking it super seriously. And then I realized, I actually really enjoy this, and I can make some money, and it's a very multifaceted industry. And so I've kind of worn a lot of different hats throughout my 19 plus years in the industry. I got licensed right out of high school, and I've kind of worked my way through being a top producing agent, I was in the home warranty side of the business for a while. I was also in the corporate side of real estate with the national brand Coldwell Banker, and then just most recently transitioned into leadership at my company. So now I'm running the operations of the company, and it's kind of the culmination of my entire career's experience boiled into one job. So I really enjoy it.
Just from that opening sentence, there's a couple places I want to go. One, your energy is really, really high. Can you talk about either some energy management, or are you naturally high energy, or do you have to work at that?
It's mostly natural, although I will say my French press coffee helps. I took up French press coffee around Christmas time, and it definitely gets me going in the morning, because I didn't realize this at first. I did it for the taste, but apparently a cup of French press coffee has more caffeine than a shot of espresso. And I drink 2 or 3 cups a morning. So, but even without caffeine, because for years I was decaf only. I'm just a naturally high energy person. I just get really excited, sometimes to my own detriment. My mouth gets ahead of my brain sometimes, and I'm one of those people. It's a meme on Facebook I've seen. It's like, I don't mean to interrupt you. It's just like I get really excited and I just start talking. Like that's how I am.
Let me ask you this question. So you talked about becoming a top producing agent. I actually have some people who are in real estate right now in the audience who might actually get some great benefit out of this. Can you talk about, and plus it's one of your specialties actually, can you talk about how to, go from either just starting out in real estate and how to start moving towards that, top performer spot?
Sure. So I'll start with the biggest mistake that I made when I got into the business. I was in a small town in Michigan. Everybody knew my family. Everybody knew me. I did a horrible job at managing my sphere of influence. And then I just didn't market to repeat customers. I just didn't do what I should have done from the very beginning. If I would have done that, my career would have taken a different trajectory. Instead, I moved out of state when the recession happened, and I had been selling foreclosures in Michigan, and I got on to a foreclosure team in Nashville, Tennessee, and became one of the top producers. I was a company of about 700 agents. I was like number 15 during the recession. So I was on a team. So it worked well for me, as I'm a very process-oriented person, and I find that the successful agents have processes. Either they delegate what they don't need to work on, or they have just learned to kind of compartmentalize. But there was a big difference between myself and my partner, who we shared a portfolio. I had a process, and she kind of just, I wouldn't say she winged it, but every time we had to put a listing in, for instance, I could do it in 15, 20 minutes. It would take her 30, 45, because she was typing everything out where I'm copying and pasting. I had a whole document of, these are the comments I'm going to make on every listing, bing, bang, boom. And so I think process is something that's often overlooked in sales, because as salespeople, we're not generally process-oriented people. But I think if you just take a few I won't say a few minutes, but if you just put a little bit of energy at the very beginning to kind of build out a checklist, or this is how I'm going to do this, I think most of the top producers that I've encountered have that. They got that. I know what it takes to do X, Y, and Z. I don't need to do this menial task over here. I can outsource it to somebody else, and that frees me up to do the money-making activities. So I think it really, for me, my success came from my ability to just treat it like it was just every transaction was slightly different, but it all had a cadence, and I just knew what the cadence was, and I knew exactly what I had to do every time, and I was able to crank out and do 375 closings in a 5-year period. So that was my secret to success. It wasn't really a big secret. It just, that's what I'm good at. I'm good at processes.
Can you talk about your process for either prospecting or getting appointments?
Sure. So, I'm a data person. So when I was in franchise development, franchise sales for the, if you don't know, franchise development is a fancy word for, I was in sales, trying to sell franchises. It was very data oriented, very data driven. So I wanted to know my customer. I'm not going to pick up the phone and say, "Well, I know the solution to your problem." I don't know who they are. And so I don't pretend to know the solution to their problem, but I do enough research to where I think I have an idea, and I could start asking leading questions. So for instance, let's translate it over to sales of real estate. If I'm talking to an expired listing, for instance, or for sale by owner, I know there's I'm going to learn as much as I can about it. Like, how long has it been on the market? How long, what's the price? All that basic stuff. But I'm not just going to say, "Oh, were you still wanting to sell your house?" Well, obviously if they're sale by owner, if the sign's still in the yard, yeah, they still want to sell their house. But what I found was try to get them to talk about their pain. So ask some questions like, "Oh, so I noticed that your house has been off the market for 3 months, and oh, but 2 other houses in your neighborhood have sold, and da da da." I'm going to tell them some stuff that they don't necessarily know because I've done my research. I'm not just randomly calling them hoping that I can just hit on something. I know more than they do about the market, and that was true in real estate sales. That's true in franchise sales. My job was to know more than my customer, and that way I'm a valuable resource to them. So it's not necessarily it is a process, as far as do your research first. I'm not going to pretend like I'm the best prospector in the world. Like, "Oh, I've got a 25 or 50% closing rate." I never tracked it. But when I made my calls, I knew who I was talking to, and I knew more about their situation than they thought I did. And I usually knew more about the market than they did. Obviously, I'm the expert; they're not. But I did it from a perspective of, I'm just here to give you some helpful advice. I'm here to add value. Whether I was talking to a broker or whether I was talking to a buyer or a seller, I was giving them value. I would sit down as franchise development with brokers with 30, 40 years of experience, and they didn't even want to meet with me. And then after we chatted, they're like, "Wow," they would thank me for, "Oh, I've told them something they didn't know," or "I've learned something from you," or "You've given me a lot to think about." So I'd say just go into it wanting to give them some information, give them a reason to want to talk to you again.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this question. So, I'm not familiar with how you guys get new prospects and book appointments. Can you give some tips for how they can actually do that online? Because I know that's going to apply to life coaches, insurance. It's going to really apply well with this online space people are in.
Right. So I also, in my free time, which I joke, I don't really have free time. I'm a workaholic though, so it's all good. I'm a publisher, and I do branding. So I've written books, and I publish, and I also do a lot of blogging and things like that. And so I read a lot of stuff and read a lot of interesting things. I think for online lead generation, again, it kind of goes back to, what value are you bringing to this person? Just saying, "Hey, sign up for my email newsletter." Why? What information am I going to get from this? Anybody familiar with online marketing should know what a lead magnet is. It's I'm trading you my email address for this piece of information that sounds interesting to me. So whether it's a white paper, whether it's a newsletter or an e-magazine or something like that, or just I've seen people use image packs, like, oh, here's a pack of 30 Facebook memes or whatever. Yeah, I'll trade you my email. You're essentially giving away your contact information in order to get something back.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that they necessarily want to talk to you, but they're willing to give up something. There was something interesting that you offered, and that's an open door. Hey, I noticed that you downloaded this white paper. Are you interested in X? Oh, okay, you are. Well, I'd like to talk to you more about that. Would you be willing to have a chat or whatever? They obviously cared enough about it to type their email address in, which may not seem like a big thing, but anymore, it's like, I know I'm going to get spammed. I know if I type my email address in, I'm going to be on a mailing list now and I'm going to get stuff. So there better be some value in there for me.
Yeah.
I know you're going to contact me, but what's funny is I've got people that have emailed me for years and years and years and years, and I've never paid attention. But one day, one email catches my eye, and I finally bite. Mm-hmm. They finally grabbed onto something that I'm like, okay, now you have my attention. So you can't think of it as like a one and done thing. Like, well, I tried, I didn't get them. Prospecting is a continual process. I think the statistics in prospecting are like, they'll say no 5 times on average before they'll get to a yes, and most people stop after 1 or 2 no's. Mm-hmm. So you have to keep asking, but ask in a different way. Offer them a different piece of value. Offer them a different piece of information or a different service. It's when you come in with a one product approach or a one service approach. You're hunting with a sniper rifle. It sounds like you should be hunting with a bazooka or a snake gun or whatever. I'm not a gun person, so the buckshot. Like sometimes you have to use a little bit of a wider approach to see what's going to stick.
You mentioned a really important point: the time of prospecting. Can you talk like I think a real reason why a lot of people get nervous and try and do the one and done approach is because they don't really understand the value of time and building up a list when you're prospecting. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah. So, and I'll start with a real estate statistic. So when I was a franchise manager for Coldwell Banker, brand ambassador, whatever you want to call it, I've trained a lot of agents on our CRM platform, and CRM is essential. If you're going to prospect, you need a CRM. You need a customer relationship management system. I don't care if it's just Excel. That's like the worst. I love Excel. Don't get me wrong. I love Excel, just not for CRM management. But if that's the best you can do, then stick with that. Like Excel is enough, but have something. But I would tell them like, we get all these junk leads. Like we get all these leads, online leads, and they don't want to do anything. It's like, do you know the average amount of time from inception to closing? So the first inkling of a thought that maybe I want to buy a house someday, mm-hmm. to the time that they actually close on the house, the average is like 17 months. And usually it's stunned silence in the room or gasps of horror. But once they have that in their minds, they realize this lead may be crummy today, but in 6, 8, 12, 15 months from now, it might be golden. And if I just keep in touch with them, if I'm going to drip on them little by little, then I'm going to be the one that they think of. Another thing is like email lists. Data is just gold. Okay. I'm a data hoarder. Like I don't delete anything. Like people get agitated when I talk about my email inbox. I keep everything in my inbox. It's horrible. I read it. It's not unread emails. I can't do unread emails. But I learned a long time ago, if I need something, I can just type it. I can type a search and there it is. But even if they're deleting your emails, think about when you delete email.
Yeah.
You're at least looking at who's sending it and maybe the subject line. Mm-hmm. So most, like 99% of emails that come to me get deleted because it's mostly junk, mostly stuff I've signed up for because I wanted to get that white paper or I wanted that image pack or whatever. But my brain is subconsciously logging the fact and I'm remembering the name. Like there's this one guy, I don't remember what I signed up for. It's been years. I don't know. I don't think I'll ever interact with him or whatever, but I know he's the SEO expert apparently, because that's what he tells me every time he emails me. And so, the agents will get discouraged, or people in general get, well, I've got like a 2%, open rate on my emails, but they're being seen. Your name is being seen. Your subject line can catch their attention. So it may not be today, but maybe in 6 months, they'll say, now, who is that agent? The one that keeps emailing us or whatever, or just so happens that's the day your email comes in. Oh, that's so weird that they emailed me. I'm just thinking about, my friend's a loan officer and, kind of convinced me now is the time. Now I need an agent. This agent's been emailing me. I'll give him a call. I hear stories like that all the time. So when it comes to building your list, don't delete emails. Like, keep them on a drip unless they opt out. Just assume, I don't opt out of a lot of email just because it's just an extra step, and I guess you can call me lazy, I guess. Plus I kind of feel bad. Like, I get these nasty, unsubscribe me. It's like, you could have just pushed the button at the bottom. You didn't have to reply to my email. So I actually feel guilty about unsubscribing to people. I'm a weirdo like that, but don't delete them out of your database. Like, well, they never respond to anything. They're not ready to buy what you're selling yet. They will be someday, maybe, or maybe they'll know someone. Like, oh, I got a friend who mentioned they need such and such. This dude keeps emailing me. This woman keeps emailing me, whatever. Here, I'm going to forward you this email. I heard you. I do that all the time. I don't know if this will help you, but here, maybe this email will give you some information.
Wow.
Sorry, I'm a talker, so.
Well, I mean, that was interesting, forwarding other people's emails. Yeah, because I mean, I forward one person's email from one of my email addresses to another email address that I open. It's funny. I save emails like that too, especially good ones.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And I'm a connector. So my first book was on networking, and I built a reputation of being that resource for people. Like, even if I didn't know the answer, I probably knew someone who knew the answer, or I knew where you could get the answer. So people come to me all the time with, hey, I don't suppose such and such, that can help me with this. You know what? I just read something about that the other day. Let me, and I'll dig through, because I remember all sorts of random stuff. I'm great at bar trivia, by the way, if you guys ever need a teammate. I remember lots of useless information, but people just know that, oh, Steven will probably know something, because I generally know something, or I'm like at least 1 or 2 degrees of separation away from the answer, because that's just what I do. I make it a point to be that connector. So, those emails can be a valuable thing, even if you're not using them. If it's a piece of information you can share with somebody else, it gives you points too. So it can help you build your business.
So I guess even a bigger question, right? Because 19 years, right? So when you're looking back, time probably looks a lot different. But can you give some kind of advice to someone who's just starting out now, and they're scared that they're not going to make it to the end of the next 6 months because their sales are slow, or they just don't have their process in yet?
So another big mistake I made when I got into the business was I wasn't shouting it from the rooftops. I assumed people know I'm in real estate. I told them once. I mentioned it one time, and they'll all remember. I went to a conference, my first NAR conference in Chicago, National Association of Realtors, and this agent, or I don't remember who said it, but somebody was speaking, and they said the average consumer will forget you in 17 days. They will forget what you do in 17 days. And I think that's probably true, or even less now than it was. People have short memories. I can remember talking to someone on one week, and then the next week they're like, oh yeah, listed my house. Oh, I forgot you sold real estate. Really? I just talked to you last week. Either you forgot genuinely, or you didn't want to use me and this is your excuse, whatever. Yeah. Or I've had conversations with people, like, literally at like, yeah, we should go look at houses later this week. And then I find out 2 hours later, they were driving home and stopped by an open house and wrote an offer.
Wow.
Are you kidding me? Like, what? Well, we thought we had to use that agent. So one thing that I will say is you can never talk about it too much. You don't have to be obnoxious about it, but make sure people remember, and ask for referrals. Like, I have a friend He's amazing. He might be someone you want to interview at some point too. He's awesome. He manages a huge company in California, and he's a international speaker. I published his book. I mean, he's just awesome. But he basically says, like, you're doing people a disservice by not offering them your services. If you truly think you're the best at what you do, then why aren't you telling more people? You should be telling everybody, because you're not being fair. Your friends and family are having to use a subpar whatever because you don't want to impose. It's powerful advice, you know, and so I think it goes to your confidence level too. Like, do you think you're the best? And if you're not the best, what can you do to get there? But you don't have to be the best to do a good job. You know, being 18 years old in real estate in a tiny town in rural Michigan was not an easy road to hoe. It was difficult. People in my age really worked against me, but what I lacked in experience, I made up for in enthusiasm, obviously, and, you know, passion. Like, I'll work really, really hard to get this done. Like, I have nothing else better to do, you know, than to get your house sold. You know, so I would say just hammer away at people, not obnoxiously though, but like, make sure they know, like, I'm really working hard to build my business. Anything, you know, if you know anybody. And I will give one quick little piece of advice. When you frame your ask for a referral, don't make it a closed question. I learned this one from one of the greatest real estate trainers, Jackie Leavenworth. I think she's amazing. Don't say, do you know anyone who wants to buy or sell? That's an instant no. No, I don't know anybody. It's, of all the people you know, friends, your relatives, your neighbors, coworkers, who's the next person that might buy or sell in the next 3 to 6 months? I won't get into the psychology of it, but the brain starts working. They want to give you an answer. Their subconscious wants to throw out the information. And it's just an interesting little twist on, do you know anybody? No, I don't know anybody. But you're forcing them to think through the question. The way, so in how you frame the referral question will make a difference. Always ask.
Yeah. Open-ended. Nice. You know, so where can people go to either connect with you or learn more about you?
So I would say my LinkedIn is probably the most complete picture, and it's linkedin.com/in/Stephen Meadows, and Stephen spelled with a PH. And then of course Facebook, it's facebook.com/Road Warrior. I travel a lot. In fact, this is the longest period of time I have slept in my own bed for 7 years. Wow. I usually am gone all the time. And then if you don't really learn about me, but if you go to meadowsbooks.com, that will redirect directly to my Amazon page where my 5 books that I've personally written are located. And then I've published 5 or 6 others as well. But Meadows Books is where my books are located. But I would say LinkedIn. I'm a LinkedIn person, so I'm always happy to connect with people on there. And it pretty much has my entire history.
Excellent. You know, I appreciate your time, and you know, the tips that you gave were really, really, really great. I was able to take at least 2 pages worth of notes, just kind of looking down. So really great. You know, because it's like the stuff that you're talking about is not complicated, but most people don't do it. You know.
Right. So exactly. You know, it's the simple stuff, I think, that trips us up sometimes. We get so wrapped up in all the bells and whistles when it's like the basic stuff can save you so much, you know, so much time and energy if you just start from the beginning and build your process and, you know, start with what you know, like work your sphere of influence, that kind of stuff. I mean, it really can make a huge difference.
Excellent. You know, I really appreciate your time today. And, you know, for those watching, if you want to go and join a community where people are, you know, improving themselves and helping others do the same, I recommend you go check out our community. It's basically a group where people can mastermind and come together and improve themselves, because you are the average of the 5 to 10 people that you spend the most time around. So if that's what you've been searching for, go ahead and click on the links either above or below the video to come and join us inside of our community. Hopefully you enjoyed watching this video as much as we enjoyed creating it. Feel free to hit that share button so someone else can get some value as well. Have a great day. Talk to you soon, and we will see you later. Have a great one. We're done recording in 3 and 2 and 1.